From Oriole Park at Camden Yards, it is the Banner Baseball Show. Paul Mancano and Kyle Goon coming to you from a wet but currently not raining main concourse at Camden Yards. Kyle, looks like the rain might actually hold off here on opening day.
Yeah. I think that feels like a bit of a sign. I don't want to get too involved here with philosophy, but if anything, I think it's a sign that we understand we need this game today.
Yep.
This region needs this game to happen today, and maybe there is a higher power involved in getting it off.
Yes, it has been obviously a very, very difficult week for Maryland, for Baltimore. We're hoping that this game will get off to the Orioles to a good start here. And it is a busy day for everybody here, Kyle, because the Orioles are introducing their new soon-to-be majority owner, David Rubenstein, up in the warehouse later. Then they've got the game at 3 o'clock. We're going to hear from David Rubenstein in a bit. Andy Costa already talked to him on the BaltimoreBanner.com, but this is just a massive, massive change in this organization that has been under Angelos' control for over the last 30 years. And we're not sure exactly where Rubenstein is going to take this organization, but one thing we can promise is things will be different for the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, I think things will be dramatically different. And, even though the results on the field have been what they've been, and the Orioles have been very successful, and the pipeline has it looking like they're going to be successful for years to come, I think what people were really grading on was the management at the top and questions about, is John Angelos serious about not just making the Orioles, a good team through the draft, through savvy talent acquisitions, but also through spending some money. Is John Angelos going to, sign long-term contracts or acquire at least mid-level free agents?
Yeah.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is he had created doubt that was going to happen by his own words. And so when you have David Rubenstein taking over the franchise, I think it offers just a new opportunity to turn the page and give new hope and optimism to those things and hope they're going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the team on the field. As of today, we haven't yet seen a roster for opening day yet, so we don't know exactly the group that they have here, but the Orioles did bring in veteran Tony Kemp.
Maybe Jackson's going to get called up. Who knows?
You never know. Maybe
5 more minutes? I don't know.
Yeah, we did see last year Grayson Rodriguez didn't make the team, and then a week later he was there. So that was due to injury, of course. But you never know. Somebody could pull a hammy, and we'll figure it out. Hopefully, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. But Kyle, we saw Tony Kemp sign with this team a couple days ago on a major league deal. How surprised were you that the Orioles brought in yet another infielder after it seemed like Tyler Nevin was?
Yeah, they're kind of drowning in infielders, aren't they? They're kind of drowning in. I mean, part of the reason that Jackson Holliday didn't make this roster that we're given is there are experienced guys in Jorge Mateo and Ramon Urias, and obviously Jordan Westberg can play second.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like already a depth issue. Then you keep Tyler Nevin, and then it looks like Tyler's not going to make opening day roster because of Tony Kemp. So I mean, listen, I'm gonna give a little opinion. I'm a columnist, right? I don't really understand why you would want to be drowning in so maybe below average infielders when you have maybe the best, not even maybe, you have the best prospect in baseball.
Yes.
Waiting at that position. Maybe he hasn't played a ton of second, but he looked pretty okay in spring to me. I saw him turn a couple double plays, so I don't know why the Orioles are creating this adding clog to the pipeline, if you will, but they sure are. They sure are doing it.
They sure are. I mean, Jackson Holliday's 20 years old. He's only played 18 AAA games. I get that. Tony Kemp had -1 WAR according to Baseball Reference last year. He was a below-average player. I know he is well-liked in a lot of clubhouses. I know he has a veteran presence. I know the Orioles like to have those kind of veteran infielders. We've seen it before with Jose Iglesias and Freddie Galvis, but I can't imagine Tony Kemp being that much better at this point than Jackson Holliday. That is the move that they made, and I don't expect Tony Kemp to get a whole lot of playing time. I don't expect him to be in this opening day lineup. However, he is on the team, so he will likely see some action at some point.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, if you're the Orioles, maybe you're saving your bullets and trying to get through this first month and let Jackson play second base every day. I don't know why they didn't start that process last year, frankly. I mean, they could have seen this coming.
Yes.
But, it is what it is. And I'm sure Jackson will get called up sometime this year. I mean, everyone's anticipating it. You just have to wonder how rough that position has to be before it does happen. But it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk big picture for the Orioles this year. They have Corbin Burnes starting. He is the ace that they acquired this offseason. With Garrett Cole being out of action for the Yankees, Corbin Burnes might be the best opening day starter in the American League East. Maybe one of the best opening day starters in all of baseball. So they have their ace at the top of the rotation. They're obviously waiting for Kyle Bradish to come back, waiting for John Means to come back. But this rotation looks fortified. This lineup looks just as good as it was last year. And the bullpen looks to be similarly strong, of course, without Felix Bautista, but replacing their closer with Greg Kimbrell. Where do you think this team now stacks up compared to the AL East opponents?
I mean, I think they're right there. And, the Yankees are a favorite because of Juan Soto. I mean, that's obviously a huge ad. I don't want to downplay, but we've kind of seen that blow up other places, the super team thing, and I think the pressures are very unique to the Yankees, and they really just have a hard time delivering on that. So I think in Baltimore, they're still on the upswing. I mean, even though they won 101 games last year, I mean, the talent is so young. I don't think there are the same level of expectations on the Orioles as some of their AL East rivals, and I think that's a huge benefit for them. And obviously, we're talking about guys who could be coming up this year. I mean, Jackson Holliday is going to go up this year, and maybe Kobe Mayo comes up this year. And Kyle Stowers had a very good spring, and had a little experience last year. So I think there's a lot of just upside to the franchise, and I really think they're going to be right in there. I don't know if they're going to be at the top again. It's really hard to win the AL East 2 years in a row, but I think they're going to be right there.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to the mid-2010s when they won more games than any other team in the American League over a 5-year stretch. They only won the division one time in all of those years. So it is very difficult to get to the top of the AL East. And like you said, the Yankees, maybe a little top-heavy. But we've seen that in years past. It's the depth that could hurt them, and it's the injury to Garrett Cole which could hurt them. I don't think the Red Sox are going to be competing for a division title. We'll see. Sometimes it's years you don't expect that they end up competing. The Rays are going to be right there, despite the fact that they don't have Tyler Glasnow anymore. Kevin Cash just gets that team to a good spot every single time. But on paper, assuming Kyle Bradish is going to come back for this team at some point over the coming months, assuming John Means is going to come back, like you said, that depth that no other organization has, so that if one guy goes down, they'd have somebody waiting in the wings at AAA. On paper, this Orioles team is, I think, the best in the division. Plus, you have the reigning AL Manager of the Year in Brandon Hyde to keep that culture together. I think that's such an important thing that the Orioles have, which maybe some other teams don't.
Yeah, and honestly, if you want to talk about depth, I mean, last year you had the Rays and the Orioles battling out in the AAA championship.
Yeah.
And you had, obviously, the Orioles right at the top of the Grapefruit League this year in terms of record. And I know we don't count the record for spring training, but to me, it's really powerful demonstration of their depth, of their organizational depth. They were doing split squad lineups that were mashing in both locations. So it's just, they have guys for days. It's just going to be a matter of, honestly, figuring out how to deploy them. I mean, figuring out what days you kind of change the lineup, figuring out when you bring up those prospects, figuring out if, frankly, some of those prospects get unloaded. I mean, they have too many guys to actually play in the majors, and too much overlap of the talent. So the Orioles are going to have a lot of cards to play this summer in July before the trade deadline. I really think, honestly, if you didn't learn last year, I think Mike Elias should be aggressive this year. At the trade deadline. So I think all those things really go powerfully in Baltimore's favor.
Absolutely. Well, we have a press conference to go to for the brand new owner up in the warehouse. Mere 4 hours before first pitch. It's going to be a busy day here at Oriole Park in Camden Yards. At Kyle Goon is where you can find Kyle on Twitter. at Paul Mancano for me, and at All Banner Sports. And, of course, Andy Koska and Danielle Allentuck are currently down there in the Orioles clubhouse gathering all the news, notes, and information before first pitch on opening day. The Orioles' march towards October begins today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll give you one look of the field here at Oriole Park at Camden Yards before we head out of here. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and happy opening day, Birdland.